Hello and welcome to Holistic Hitting the Podcast, I believe episode 8. So, a lot to talk about on this episode, a lot to unpack. You have the WBC big game last night between the United States and the Dominican Republic. You have spring training kind of moving along here, getting into the dog days and heading into the last couple of weeks. Opening day is upon us in the major leagues. College baseball is in full swing with conference play going on. And high school baseball in Florida here in Central Florida at least is on spring break. Some teams are playing tournaments, some teams are not. I remember back 1990, the Killian Cougars playing in Sarasota, Florida against a bunch of massive teams. Tampa Jesuit with Mark Valdez, who pitched in the big leagues. We played the eventual national champion Altamont Springs Lake Brantley Patriots, who had Jerry Thurston and Brad Rigby and Greg Thomas and Jason Varitek, of course, to name a few. We were the only team to beat them that year in Sarasota at our spring break tournament. It was a time where they talk about team bonding, and that word just gets thrown around these days. I feel like, well, this was a trip we took where a group of players came together and became a unit. And it was pretty cool to see. We won some big games. Those boys learned how to pitch in big situations, and that set us up for later in the season under the lights against some really good teams. Learn how to deal with pressure, learn how to compete in tough situations. And I think really that's the thing that young players battle today more than anything is just the day-to-day pressures to compete. I think that they're just bigger, they're greater, they're more in your face than they used to be. And so it's just a different level of stress that players deal with compared to the last generation. And so when you're really trying to develop your players and your kids especially, make sure you're encouraging them. You're building them up as much as you're trying to help them and get them better. I wouldn't say criticize by any means because we don't want to criticize, but I want to make sure that we are constructively instructing players to improve, giving them a plan because they want one. Players who want to be great want to follow a plan. They want you to show them how to get better. They don't want you to just tell them what's wrong all the time. They want them to show me how. Give me a plan and I'll do it. Hardworking players will do that. And so I encourage you, coaches out there and parents, make sure you're building your players up. That, I think, is the most important advice. People ask me, what would you give advice to a parent who's trying to raise a baseball player? Build them up. Make sure that you are giving him good advice, that you are finding good people to put around him and train him, but most importantly, that you're encouraging him, that you're telling him not necessarily it's going to be okay all the time, but you're telling him that you're proud of him and the work that he's doing. And so that can be a difference maker in a player's life. When we take off the mask of criticism and we put the mask of encouragement, it can be a game changer for the player as a parent and a coach. I asked one time Toby Hara, I said, what was the greatest advice you ever got? I was looking I've been asked that question. What's the greatest advice you ever got as a manager to manage in the minor leagues? It was from Toby Hara. I said, Toby, who's your greatest manager and why? He said, that's easy, Billy Martin. Why? Because he told me I was the best shortstop in the American League every day. Were you? No. But I thought I was, and so when I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to encourage people. That's the name of the game. Players need to be encouraged. Players need to be built up. I'm going to try this. And I started as a manager. I started hunting the good stuff, looking for things to be positive about in the way I coached players, and instead of looking for ways to tell them how they weren't good. That's easy to do, I think. If you're worth your salt as an instructor, you know what it looks like good, and you know what it looks like not good. And it's easy to go, oh, that's not good. No, you can't do that. Oh, that's not good enough. We call that coach obvious. All right, don't be coach obvious. Be somebody who's going to be encouraging and make that player feel better than he did when he walked in the door. He feels better than when he walked out. I said that backwards. Make him feel better when he walks out the door than when he walked in. Okay, be somebody that encourages somebody to be a difference maker instead of breaking them down all the time. So that's kind of my quick message to parents and coaches today. Is build your players up. Back to watching the WBC last night. I couldn't help but root for the Dominican Republic. I am definitely born and raised in the United States. I played USA baseball myself in 1993. However, watching the game, looking at the coaching staff and the group of players on the Dominican side and the staff, the support staff, I connect more with those guys just because a lot of them were teammates of mine. Placido Polanco. I know Albert Pujols just through the game. I never played with him, but I do know him. We know each other. Carlos Feblis, the third base coach. I can go on that team, the guys who I've really just been in the trenches with before. And so I was really rooting for that group of guys because I thought it'd be really cool for them to win. Tatis, his dad and I, Fernando, were teammates in the minor leagues. I don't know Junior. I met Elijah before. He was a White Sox player. That's Junior's little brother. But obviously, I'm rooting for the kid just because the dad and I played together for 3 years coming up in the Texas Ranger system. That was my connection. But either way, it's so cool to see. Like I grew up as a kid running around the Orange Bowl. My dad, as a side job, parked cars in parking lot S2, south end of the Orange Bowl, where the Dolphins parked, except for Marino. Dan parked in S1, but. The Dolphins parked there. I used to chase Duper and Clayton to their when they would park their 911 Carreras, and I'd get out with the same piece of paper and I'd say, "Hey, can you sign?" And they say, "Andy, we signed it last week." And I'd say, "No, you didn't." They say, "Yeah, I can see my name." I'd have the same piece of paper. So that was kind of my life on the weekends, was going to Hurricane and Dolphin games. It's a great time to watch football in Miami. The Hurricanes were unbelievable. That bus, and Michael Irvin would toss me his football. I'd catch it, toss it back to him as he'd get off the bus. And I would ride my bike around University of Miami and got to know Michael Irvin when he was a young player, always throwing his football up. He carried his football around everywhere he went, throwing it up, catching it, throwing it up, catching it. So, yeah, I was a little Miami football Orange Bowl rat, so to speak. So to see now, and then, when I watched the new documentary, the 30 for 30, and you see the Orange Bowl being knocked down at the end of it, for me, that's like a tearjerker. That's like a part of your childhood is just like getting destroyed, right? However, now to see the WBC and the stadium in Miami rocking with so much joy and passion for the game of baseball, it really is like cool. It's really cool. It's really neat. It makes me feel better that the Orange Bowl is gone. The Orange Bowl was an old stadium. It needed a complete overhaul for it to be a viable place for college football or any football, or heck, even to walk inside. That thing was kind of creaking, to be honest, right? So it was time for a new stadium. That thing had been there since the 50s, I believe. And so it was time to do something different and spectacular in Miami. I know how it went down wasn't the greatest as far as the taxpayers and the Loria ownership of the Marlins, who I worked for a long time. I know it wasn't a great deal. However, it's kind of worked out to this point that it's new ownership. I think everything's forgiven as far as the taxes that the taxpayers in Miami had to pay. But now to see that event happen there with the passion for baseball and then see it happen every 3 years is really neat. It's sad that the Marlins don't have that type of passion. Obviously they did when Jose was there. But it hasn't been like that since. It would be nice to see that organization have a team that creates that type of love and passion and wins a World Series in Miami one day. Just as being from that hometown, when I worked there, that was kind of my dream, was to be part of a World Series champion in my hometown. And so I think that'd still be something cool to either watch or be a part of. I'm not sure it's going to happen anytime soon with the economics of baseball, but just like I tell all the professional players that are playing right now that I'm counseling and working with in my program, hey man, you just never know. Like baseball, you never know. It could look like I'm not going to make this team, that I'm third on the depth chart. It could look like so many different negative things, and then the next thing you know, you're the starter. You're playing every day. I went to my first spring training. I've been telling this story lately, and I had to in the cage a lot. That I had to sing R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly." And I cannot sing. I'm not going to sing it right now. It's not good. I had an 86 Nissan pickup truck. It had a camper shell on the back. I used to plug my tape player in. I used to take Tatis, his dad, around in that car, and he used to sing "Killing Me Softly" by the Fugees at the top of his lungs because he loved that song. He said, D, put my song. And he would sing, "Killing me, so I came to see him." It was an excellent version. Fernando, if you're out there, man, I know you still like that song, man. Play some Fugees for me, man. Anyway, I'm going to actually tell somebody. I'm going to send you a WhatsApp later and tell you that I told that story. So anyway, that pickup truck and I went a long way. We went all over the country. But I used to drive to the ballpark and sing R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly" to myself first thing in the morning every day going into spring training my first year. Why? Because I was third on the depth chart. I didn't know if I was going to make a team. I was tired. I was beat up. I'd never gone through this before. And now here I am trying to earn a position in professional baseball. And I'm not doing great. And I'm trying to practice and get better as I'm here. And every day I had to talk myself into it, basically. That song, there'd be days where I'd be crying, singing that song on the way to the field, just like sometimes in gratitude that I'm playing. Sometimes just like, hey, man, you're beat down and you need to kind of let's go. And sometimes I don't know if this is going to work out today, you know. And so that song was a difference maker at that time for me. And I encourage, you to have something every morning. If you're a college player, high school player, professional player, that pushes you to a level of overcoming the self-doubt and the demons that tell you can't do something. Because when you have that type of go-to, even if it's a tough day, you know that song's there. That constant morning, that thing that I put in my CD player that I'd have to plug my tape into the tape deck and play, I knew that song was there for me to encourage me that day. And so when things get tough, flip the script and find ways to either sing a song to yourself, give yourself a phrase, think an encouraging thought, think about something positive that's happened in your life, think about moments where you've had big moments on the field before, and things that you can associate with your brain to positivity and confidence. Because at the end of the day, when you step in that batter's box, you have to be ready to hurt something. You have to be engaged in the battle, fully engaged, and if you're not, then you're going to have a problem. It's really hard to win a battle when you're not confident in your tools and you're not confident in your approach to battle. And so we have to bring the confidence with us. And when that happens, usually all the work that we've done starts to flow. Let the mind be freed so that the body can create effortless movements through anticipation of what's coming. I have a plan, I'm hunting something, there it is, and I'm going because I'm freed up and I'm able to do that. Real quick back on that quick story about the Orange Bowl and so forth. The number one thing I wanted to stress about the WBC is passion. Playing winter ball myself for 7 years, 5 of those years in the Dominican. I managed 3 different times in that league too, so I have 8 seasons in the Dominican League. It's a big part of my life, the Dominican Republic. And the one thing that I always associated with, and that what kept bringing me back, was the people, the passion for the game, the love of the game, the competitiveness, the work ethic of players there. You're talking about an area that's the same population as the state of Ohio, and they just went head to head with our whole country and beat us 2-1. That's pretty impressive for the amount of great players that come from that one island. There's a commitment to training there and a commitment to the game, and I'm proud to be a part of the Dominican baseball history. And it was great to see a lot of my compadres and former teammates locking arms and going to battle last night. So proud of you guys, even though you came up a little short. It was fun to see. On the flip side, Mark DeRosa was a teammate. George Lombard was my roommate, the first base coach in AAA. So obviously you're rooting for those guys as well. A couple other coaching staff members that I've come across through my time that you're rooting for. Freddie Gonzalez, of course. So yeah, it was, you associate with players and coaches on both sides. But to see the passion for the game, true passion from players, that's what it's all about. That's what I enjoyed about playing in the Dominican League. My bat spoke better Spanish than it did English. I played better down there because I was freed up. I wasn't thinking about impressing scouts or front office people or getting called up or getting sent down. All I was thinking about was helping my team win the game. And when you think about helping your team win the game, that's when you play your best baseball. And those guys will never play a better brand of baseball than they did the last few weeks in this tournament because they're playing for their country and they're playing to win at all costs. Nothing else matters. My contract, where I hit in the lineup, it's all noise. Everything that matters is winning the game. And that's when baseball players play their best. So we can adopt that. You can go play your best and be a better version of yourself because you decide that I'm going to play to win instead of being selfish and just do for myself and get my hits. I call that 2 for 4. What's the score? So you can play like that, or you can go be a difference maker and go help your team win. You get 9 people trying to help your team win. We got something. When the 2018 Boston Red Sox, we had 25 dudes that are some of the greatest players in the world, all playing to win, not for their contracts. When that happens, that's when world championships happen. Anyway, I am going to log off for now. I'm rambling on about different topics. Heck, I'm not even sure where I started, but I think we got a lot talked about and discussed. I hope you found this episode interesting. It was fun. It was definitely fun talking and getting some of these stories and thoughts out. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time.